Pirelli GT4 America Championship action about to unfold. This will be round number 2 of the Pirelli GT4 America Sprint Championship. There is a look at the starting grid as the field out on the track. And I'll tell you what, Cal, in this class, we saw some phenomenal racing yesterday. I expect nothing less today. And looking forward to this one, a really good group of pros and some exciting AM drivers.
Yeah, one of those exciting AM drivers from last year, a two-time champion. Drew Stavely is now a pro, and what did he go and do on his pro debut? Well, he won, and he beat two of the best in the business in terms of Spencer Pumpelly and Michael Cooper, and they're going to start right around him as we come through these final couple of corners and get ready for the start here.
The Acura NSX safety vehicle has made his escape. We are ready to go to green here in this second round of the Sprint Championship for the Pirelli GT4 America Series. Drew Stavely in that win yesterday from pole, set fast lap in the race. That gives him pole for this one. But the margin from qualifying yesterday to fast laps in the race, a lot closer with Cooper and Pumpelly in that mix. And we are ready to go here in that blue, white, and black and green Aston Martin on the outside of row 2. That's your AM pole sitter. He is always aggressive. Paul Terry. Time to go racing here at Circuit of the Americas. Stavely decides when to go. He goes, and Paul Terry pops to the outside, realizes he didn't maybe get the run he wanted, and that's going to allow Spencer to perhaps solidify that hold on third.
Jared Andretti down to the inside in that bright orange McLaren for Andretti Autosport. Michael Dinan from the victory yesterday in the AM class just escapes getting clipped there right at the apex as Tony Gaples had a great start from the back of the pack.
There we go, things settling just a little bit. Always such close quarters racing up in that turn 1. But Stavely hanging on to lead over Cooper, then Pumpelly. But you were right, Andretti, a superb launch.
Yeah, he's up on the wheel. They had some technical issues early in the weekend, but got big points yesterday in Sprint X and Sprint competition. Jared actually got a penalty late in the Sprint race yesterday. Had to do a drive-through, but still finished 4th on the road as he's kicking dust there through the apex of turn 8 once again.
And that's what he got the drive-through for. So, you know, once you've done it, the stewards just by nature tend to spend a little bit more attention watching here. So he's going to have to be very careful about that. But meanwhile, look at this here as Andretti. And that start, I think the fact that Jarrett ended up with a couple of AM cars between himself and these top 3 pros annoyed him just a little bit. And he wanted to rectify that right away at the start. He
did so. Very similar look to what we saw yesterday with Cooper and Drew Stavely out front with Spencer Pumpelly, who bided his time yesterday in the 50-minute race and really came on strong at the end to nip around Cooper and grab the second position. But Jared Andretti is certainly hanging with this lead trio early in the going.
What I was alluding to about the qualifying run that Stavely had, he was half-second clear of the field, but you look at the margins between himself and the next 2 cars in terms of best laps in the race, a 10th and then 2 tenths. It's a lot closer, and Cooper showing that in the early going here.
Certainly, as you see Spencer there running a little bit wide out of turn 15. So some of that was managed yesterday. You got to manage your tires. You don't want to just take off and lay down that fast lap, even though he secured fast enough lap for the pole position. But even so, he's been dominant all weekend long, has led every timesheet so far and the race yesterday, Drew Stavely.
In this top group of 4, the pros have been able to ease away from the rest of the field, still led by Paul Terry. And then yesterday's AM winner, Mike Dinan for Flying Lizard Motorsports in his Aston Martin. Terry in the Reardon Racing Aston Martin going 1-2 right now in the AM category. And Toby Grahovic, who had to start a little bit deeper in the field, just had one of those days yesterday, making up a couple of spots already. And then you've got Bell, Burton, Gaples, Roberts. Radisek had a great launch and has moved up 5 spots in the opening lap, Cal.
Yeah, big lap there for Marco. Focused there on Michael Dinan going through the apex of turn 1. He's had a great weekend. Won here yesterday in the AM class with a last lap pass on the man he's chasing right now, Paul Terry. Followed that up with the podium run in Sprint X competition this morning with his teammate there, Robbie Foley.
It's a good look at Toby Grahovic and that classic BMW. One of the pros in the field, and just had to do a little bit of chase mode this weekend and checking in with Marco Radisek about the problems they've had. Struggles in both the Sprint and Sprint X races that have unfolded so far. And he said, yeah, it turns out we had a diff problem that had been apparently failing for a while. They got that taken care of. and then at the start of this race yesterday, snapped a half shaft. And he said, so the sprint race this morning, we got things sorted out a little bit, and I really hope I could be in the game here. Well, I guess so with that opening lap.
Yeah, absolutely. If a differential is not working correctly, it can do two things. It can really induce a lot of understeer and create a lot of power down issues coming off the corner. I'm not sure which end was being affected, but here we see a great move there by Jared Andretti, side by side through the brake zone with Spencer Pumpelly. Spencer gets back to the inside for turn 13 there and just manages to maintain that position. Jarrett's car looks a bit more underneath him right now in the early corners, really close there. Great racing between these two.
Again, Jarrett is just running off track and then swings right over in front. The stewards have to be getting a little bit concerned about this. And the problem is, from my perspective, Cal, and you tell me what you think about it, is the guys who are doing their best to maintain the correct amount of what's been allowed in terms of quote-unquote track limits versus the guys who aren't and are gaining an advantage. Eventually, you just say, well, I've got to do it too.
You do, and it's a tough call, and I've been watching the pattern this weekend with drivers. If someone in front of you exceeds the track limit, it seems like you go with them, but that was a natural advantage gained there. So I think it's one thing trimming the line a little bit, but when you actually use it to complete a pass, maybe the stewards will ask Jared to give it back. We'll have to wait and see.
And just to let you know, folks that are watching this race and following a little bit of live scoring as well, Paul Terry is in fact up in that front group. Apparently he's got a transponder issue, and that's why he may not be showing where you think he should be, but he's there.
Grahovic just got on Dynan there for second, Greg.
Yes, he did. Sliced on through. And that puts Grahovic now up into the 5th spot overall and 5th pro. So now all the pros are running 1 through 5 at this point.
He's had a strong weekend, and Classic BMW done a great job with their race cars and getting them dialed into this circuit.
Oh. And I got caught out by the transponder issue, and Toby still has to get around Terry before all the 5 pros are up at the front end together. But he's doing his best to do just that. Impressed again, though, by the run we're seeing from Jason Bell.
Yeah, he's really shown a lot of pace here this weekend. Had a couple of little spins, which have cost him dearly in terms of his finishing positions here this weekend. But nonetheless, I think under the tutelage of Andrew Davis, who he shares the car with in Sprint X competition, he's going to do great things this year. Running with GMG once again. I think he's found a happy home there, and James Safronis and his group are really delivering great race cars for him to campaign with.
Well, and I think maybe one thing that has really helped Jason was the Winterfest that the series is calling it, that they ran at Thermal Raceway in West Palm, and he was able to get a lot of off-season seat time laps working with Andrew, working with the team, and I think he just feels a lot more settled right now, and they've got that car really dialed up for how he likes to drive it.
Well, sometimes it's a long off season for the pros, and for the AMs who are trying to learn their trade to sit idle for a few months, it really makes it almost like you're starting a game when you start a new season. So by running these winter invitational events at Thermal, I think it really has allowed some of these drivers to come into this season a little bit more charged up.
And once again, Tony Gables doing what Tony Gables does. Started 8th, and he's already up into 3rd or 4th in the class. So Tony Gables making one of his patented charges. Mike Dynan right there looking like he was going to take a look at going down underneath Paul Terry, but couldn't get it done and got him a little bit offline, maybe off rhythm, and Jason Bell right up there taking a peek. And that Osteria Kitchen and Bar Highway Systems and Frost NYC machine run by Global Motorsports Group. Here's a look at the 210 Dynan, then flying over to Aston Martin.
Seems really comfortable with this Aston Martin. They did some testing in the off-season before making the decision to the Aston Martin Vantage, and it really seems to suit him. I think it's going to be a great platform for him to get some strong results this year. He's always had pace, he's always had raw speed, and it's all about just managing his racecraft and just more laps, more races. He's just going to continue to improve, you would assume.
You see Tony Gables with that great start that he put in from 8th to 4th, and then behind him Jeff Burton in the 2nd of the Reardon Racing Aston Martin Vantages. And he seems to really be enjoying that car too.
It's a learning curve for them. They did some laps and some races at the Winter Invitational at Thermal as well with Reardon Racing, but the regulations for the start of this season were slightly different, and that threw them a little bit of a curveball. Talking to that group individually this weekend, and Vesko Kozrov, who's the engineer and the teammate to Jeff Burton in the Reardon Racing camp, has been really working hard overnight to come up with some setups that really suit this race car and suit the drivers.
Yeah, that's part of the CV of Vesko that we don't talk about maybe enough, is we always talk about what an incredible talent he is behind the wheel. But he has sort of a guru status, doesn't he, in being able to work on setups and find sweet spots in these cars. Dynan pops to the inside of Terry, the two Aston Martins from two different camps, leaning on each other a little bit. No contact, but just close quarters racing, and it may have slowed them both down a little bit. Here comes Jason Bell, a great run, Cal.
He gets a great run. You know he's going to try and inch over towards that apex area and block Michael from making a return move. Does it successfully. So Michael again just kind of poked his nose in there into the entry to turn 20, and if you don't get the job done, you're coming off that corner with so little exit speed. That allowed Jason to make the move. Now they're side by side. This is going to be tight here. They have to give each other a little bit of racing room. Jason does it nicely.
Yep, realized that that tight entry into one compromised his exit just enough to give Dynan the opportunity.
And that's being smart, Greg. I like to see
is.
that from Jason, because if you fought it out through there, you're going to have contact, and then it's just a 50-50 chance whether you stay on the road.
Up front, Drew Stavely in that Ian Lacey G3 Racing Mustang continues to lead over Cooper Andretti and Pumpelli in this car right here, the TRG LaSalle Solutions Racing Series Wines machine. And Spencer exhibited immense patience yesterday, but he didn't have two McLarens in front of him.
That's right, and for the endurance warranty window, well, McLaren for Andretti Autosports, good to see that car looking a little bit more stable in this run. Their fourth race of the weekend, and they seem to just be inching up on the setup here and making the car a little bit stronger each time we see it on the racetrack.
I'll tell you, the graphics package on this TRG Racers Group entry is just gorgeous. Here is Drew, two-time AM champion in World Challenge competition, and decided, well, we really need to move this lad up. He's just that good, and he proved why with that pole and win yesterday.
He really did. That's making a statement, because it's a totally different kettle of fish when you're running against the likes of Pumpelli and Cooper for a win compared to running in the AM category. So for him to make that move up, you see Jared and some of the others just inching over that track limit boundary there. So yeah, it's a great start to the campaign for Drew, but again, it's horses for courses. The Mustang seems super strong here this weekend. We'll see when we get to different venues whether it'll be the case.
And his teammate Frank Gannett still running in the AM category in the number 24 car, sporting a little, it's the same pattern, if you will, for the livery on those Ian Lacey Racing G3 cars, just different colors this year. Drew's has the traditional orange highlighting, and Frank is running a green highlighting. And here's the battle for the lead in AM between the two Aston Martins. And it looks like Tony Gaples was able to slip around Jason Bell. He did, so he's now up to third in the Black Dog McLaren.
Had a podium run here yesterday from deep in the pack, so it's just every weekend it never fails. I call it poor qualifying, but mediocre qualifying to stellar race runs. He was really committing there. Michael Dynan had to get a bag underneath him. Bit of a moment. If you can see it that badly outside of the car, it is arms and elbows inside that cockpit.
Absolutely. Let's check in with Ryan in the GMG pit.
Well, Jason Bell's been right in the thick of this AM-class battle that we've been watching. Andrew Davis has been coaching Jason for some time, co-driving in the Sprint X Series. And the guys have been talking about just how far he's come, how much work he's been putting in the last year or so to have this ambitious program this year. And we're seeing some of that on display right now.
Yeah, I've got to say, I'm really proud of Jason. You know, he's been a great teammate so far this week. You know, we've had some good results in the Sprint X. You know, just kind of missed some podiums, but really happy with the way that's going. And then in the Sprint, he's just pushing really hard. He's got great racecraft and lots of experience. So he's a very you know, well-versed driver in his own regard. But you know, he wants to step it up. He wants to go to the next level. He's surrounding himself with a great group here, so we can help him achieve our goals and help us achieve our own goals.
Well, one of those goals is that prestigious Porsche Cup. He's made no bones about it. He's running so many races this year trying to get it. What does it say about a guy, his commitment, his passion for the sport, that he's gone all in like he has?
That's the beautiful thing about this sport, right? You've got somebody like Jason who shows that commitment. He can do a lot of other things, obviously, and he's a very busy man, so he does do a lot of other things. But motorsports is so important to him. Porsche is important to him. And just racing, it's there. So it's cool that he wants to make this commitment and run all these races. You know, he's been very busy. He's going to be even busier when the GT2 car comes along. So I think that's great. That's a great thing about our sport, how passionate, you know, others can be. Not just people like myself that grew up in the sport, but others that come in maybe a little bit later in life.
He's very much in a fight for a podium spot in this racing class. When you get the headset back on, what are you going to tell him?
Well, you know, he's doing it right now. I just want him to keep, you know, we focused on a couple spots on the track from our last data debrief, and I think that's going to help the strong points of his driving in our car. So, you know, we're going to try to be mistake-free, let some of these other guys battle in front of us, and we're going to take advantage of that. And he's right there. It's a great battle. So, you know, a couple positions that we're going to get our first win here this year, but hopefully a podium for sure.
Appreciate the insight.
Thanks.
Yeah, he's doing a nice job, and while that interview was unfolding, Spencer Pumpelly had to work for it, but he got the pass done on Jared Andretti.
Yeah, he did. Nice move, slid it down the inside into turn 20, gave each other a nice racing room coming off the corner, so there was no contact, and completed it up into turn 1. But as you know, with Jared Andretti, he's a hard race. He's not going to make it easy, but certainly the Andretti Autosport McLaren, a little bit stronger here this weekend, and they're comfortable just coming in here and scoring points. I mean, they didn't get any testing done during the off-season, and to come out and score a bundle of points in this first round of the championship, they'll be happy with that.
Watching that Aston Martin battle for the lead in the AM category, Dynan keeps showing the nose, and that gets Paul Terry to make that kind of a move, to move over, and Dynan now going to try and get right down to the inside. Terry is known as being a deep breaker, though. Ooh, boy, that was close.
Yeah, really tight.
And those two guys side by side like that and slowing each other up, that suddenly allows Gaples, who was 1.1 seconds back when this lap started, he might be just a bit closer now.
Yeah, he certainly seems to be very much in the mix for the victory here today. He's always knocking on the door, being on the podium or just off at Tony Gaples, but he's seeing these two Aston Martins battling, and this early in the race, he is close enough. He can smell victory potentially.
And so that battle continues. The Aston Martins running 1-2 with the McLaren of Gaples sitting third in AM. These two guys really going at it here, no question about that. By the way, we understand there's a very special fan watching things in Lilburn, Georgia. So I want to give a big shout out to Maxwell. Hope you're enjoying it, my man. Some good racing to be enjoying, that's for sure here. And I had a shot there of Toby Grahovic. Just wanted to point out once again that he's running 5th in the pro category right now. In this class this weekend, it's just been a bit of a struggle for him, and each time he's had to start kind of deep in the field. And he's such a great driver, such a great guy, and he's finally fought his way up into 5th, albeit a ways back at this stage, but putting in a battle. Was that Radisek?
It was, out and wide there. Jeff Courtney slides through. Mark Clennan's having a nice run here on his debut weekend with the new Sin chassis, making the move over for the McLaren. Discussed it yesterday how the team really felt that with the electronic aids on the McLaren, it really wasn't helping Mark develop as a driver with too many of the electronic aids kicking in and not really making him master the car. So they've made this switch, and I think it's a good one, and he's seems to be delivering.
Well, we know that Sin R1 GT4 has great balance as well, and that can give you a little bit of confidence to really push things a little bit, and that, as you said, helps that learning curve.
Up front, Cooper keeping stably honest. I'm sure he's trying to manage the tires. Jared Andretti is not going anywhere, still glued to the tail of Spencer Pumpelly as they battle out for third.
This is an interesting dynamic because yesterday Spencer spent a large part of that race in third right behind Cooper, and then was able to pounce late in the going And he doesn't have that sort of relaxed atmosphere behind him at this stage. Does that mean he has to push a little bit, maybe take more out of the car?
Well, possibly. As you said, he had a couple of McLarens to get around to get to the leader today. He's got around Jared Andretti, so he's probably comfortable there. He's just got to bide his time. There's still a lot of time left on this clock for him to work with.
So he just does what Spencer Pumpelly does. And Jared Andretti is always a tough character. Spencer now looks like he was able to get a little bit of a margin at this stage.
Yeah, certainly gapped him a little bit over that last half lap, and that'll be nice for him to just focus forward. But you watch Spencer make moves. He's just such a class act, so much experience. He's super quick,
yes,
and just reads a race so well. Doesn't put himself in the wrong place at the wrong time, and just is willing to give someone who he knows is going to be a little bit more aggressive in terms of getting by, a little bit more breathing room to ensure that they don't have contact.
He's sort of developed the reputation that if he's available on a weekend when he's not driving and there's a race somewhere, a lot of people are bringing him in as their strategist, aren't they?
Yeah, no, he's a true student of the game. He gets it at every level, and I think from a driver perspective, he's like an American version of a Jerome Bleekemolen in terms of plug and play. You know you're going to get results if you put him in the car.
That's high praise indeed, sir, and I think well earned. Absolutely. Down into 11. Onto the throttle you go. Boy, you know where that Mustang is on the track.
Jared Andretti hanging tough here, continuing to push.
Best lap, Stavely had a 2:17.1, but then you got a 2:17.2 from Cooper, 2:17.4 from Andretti, so everybody's in the mix. However, these last laps, Cal, they're all running mid-2:18s.
Yeah, and that's to be expected a little bit once you get a few laps and the tire temps peak a little bit. And you're trying to manage too, so those cool tires are going to give you the sweet spot initially, and then it just starts to fade a little bit, and then it's all about trying to not fall off the cliff and just maintain kind of a nice, even, consistent lap time pattern through the rest of the race.
You watch some of these different lines that some of the drivers drive, some of that's just down to tire management. If you can run a more open arc through the corner, and you can be faster tight, but if that open arc allows you to maintain the position you are running and run a similar speed and takes less out of the tires, that's just a smart way to go, as long as it doesn't leave you vulnerable to an attack. If you've got a little room with the guy behind you.
Yeah, that's for sure. But when you're in close proximity, as you said, when you start opening your hands and try to widen that radius, you can give a very open invitation down to the inside for some of these corners. The way the cars work, it's there's a lot to be factored in there, and we see some of the drivers, particularly Jared Andretti, on occasion we see him run a very shallow entry. He'll kind of use the ABS and dive diamond down to that apex, and then ask a lot out of the setup and the car to make it turn in the middle of the corner. Just depends how you have your car set up.
These two drivers, Paul Terry and Dynan, and these two Aston Martins from two different teams, the rear car of Terry and the Flying Lizards car of Dynan, they are about as equally matched, it seems, as it gets, although Terry and a little wide there at the exit of that, I think it was turn 4 in the S's. But it's really tough to do much in those S's. Ooh, Andretti getting a run here. Is he going to pop down to the inside into 11?
It seems like Andretti really makes up a lot of time through the second part of the S's there. And by the time they get down into this brake zone in the exit of turn 11, he's right with Spencer once again.
Tucked right under the wing of Spencer's TRG Porsche and makes the move. Now it's just a flat-out drag race. And he moved and had to do it. Otherwise, he was going to have to lift, and you don't want to do that. Ooh, way, way wide.
Yeah, that's a tough place to put the car, completely buried underneath that rear wing of that Porsche. You're then relying on where Spencer's going to hit the brakes and turn in. And just that split second, as soon as he goes, you're then trying to react to that, and he just missed the corner a little bit.
It gives Spencer just a little bit of breathing room, so we'll see if he's able to use that to be able to try and draw up onto the back of Michael Cooper and the Black Dog McLaren sitting in the second spot. And Dynan is really starting to heap some pressure on Terry.
Yeah, he is. His car looks a little bit more balanced at this stage of the race, just approaching the halfway point right now. 27 minutes left on the board, as you can see at the clock at the top of the screen. So Terry is just trying to hang on here. He just lost the lead late in the go, and I'm sure he'll want to try and correct that. Got some good GT4 experience, really, with running the Celine Cup last year. Not a GT4 homologated car, but very similar platform. I think he's come out of the box really strong to start this 2020 campaign because of that.
Boy, he absolutely has. And putting it to really good use. Ooh, Terry going way wide there. That lets Dynan duck down to the inside. But because of that wide arc, I think Terry was able to carry a little bit more speed. We'll see here if Dynan is able to do it again here. Look to the inside going into one. And Terry does a really early turn in. Now does Dynan square and get the run out? He just wasn't quite close enough to make that happen. So behind those guys is Tony Gaples, a great run from 8th to 3rd. His teammate sits 2nd overall right now, and the guy who oversees the operations for that Black Dog team is with Ryan.
That's Ray Sorensen, of course, from Black Dog Speed Shop. Looking at the battle up front, the Mustang has been the class of the field most of this weekend, but it does seem like that gap has narrowed today. Do you have any inclination why that might be?
No, I don't think so. I don't have any information as to why. I mean, it's a little bit different day, a little hotter today. We'll just have to see if we can stay there, but it's going to be hard to catch him.
And Tony, no surprise, he's come charging through the field, as is his custom. What has he said so far?
Just battling the car a little bit, trying to adjust his line to kind of catch up with the chassis, and hopefully he'll be able to stay there.
I know you're keeping an eye on this battle at the front of the AM field because Tony's right behind it. He's watching it through his windshield as well. Anytime they're battling amongst themselves, that's good for Tony, yeah?
Well, we hope so. You know, it just makes it easier for us to catch them if they make a mistake or something. So hopefully they'll keep having at it and we can get up there.
And as far as Cooper up front is concerned, what can he do to try and reel in the leader?
I think for us it's about just trying to conserve some tire and hope we can stay there. He's getting a little run on him here, so we'll see what happens. But it's hopefully, hopefully they can race it clean and get out of there. So,
all right, let's get it back to the booth.
That's brave stuff by Michael Cooper, but Drew Stavely, he may have been freshly moved up from AM to Pro, but he is known as a clean racer. And what an awesome counter move after all of that. Stavely able to find it right back down to the inside, Cal, and back into the lead. That was, what, 4 corners of side-by-side?
Amazing, just tied at the hip, just beautiful racing between these two, giving each other just enough racing room and enough respect.
And now Cooper taking an effort and a shot once again, way tight in. Watch Drew try and square up and go to the throttle, but that's what we talked about. You stay too far to the outside and set that turn up, you use a lot more real estate, you just don't quite get the run. So Michael Cooper in the Black Dog McLaren into the lead. That is some sweet, sweet racing. And again, I wanted to make that point about Drew. Sometimes you get an AM gets moved up into Pro, and they could be a little bit of, ooh, Clennon. That's again has pulled over. We saw that happen yesterday when that car didn't look like it had any kind of an incident. It just ended up stopped on the side of the track. So he might be fighting that same Grenlin, just speculating here. But Stavely, along with being quick, is a clean racer, and I think you saw how much Michael Cooper respected him. You don't put a car on the outside of somebody to a fast sequence of corners like that you think might run you off the road.
No, that's for sure. I mean, I think they both had the respect for one another, knowing that they could try and make those moves, and back and forth. And Andretti is certainly looking strong as well. So the McLarens today look a little bit strong as we go to full course yellow, probably for Clennon's car that is stranded there through the high-speed S's. That's in a dangerous spot. So no other call for Brian Till, our race director this year in GT4 competition, to make other than to put the safety car out there. Lots of time on the board. I think if there's maybe a couple of laps left, you could think about it. But with still pretty much half this race to run, you have to make that call.
Yeah, it's safety is paramount, and in that situation, you really don't have any kind of an option, that's for sure. So Cooper is just keeping the hammer pinned right now. And they'll pick up that safety car at this stage, but double yellows flying all around this facility. So everybody gets a little bit of a breather and reset here. That's not always what you want, though. I mean, some of the guys who've lost touch a little bit, yeah, you do, but when you've really in your rhythm and things are going well, this can frustrate you a little bit.
It can. I like it as a nice little bit of a reset here, chance for everyone to cool off the tires a little bit and have a reset. So Michael Cooper, very importantly, got around Drew Stavely there for the lead before we went to this yellow. So, and some great battles going on throughout this field. Paul Terry continues to lead in the AM class, just marginally over Michael Dinan. Tony Gaples, what can he think about during this little interlude here? See if he can make some moves.
He gathered up, and Cooper had worked hard to get to the front, and this might be a little bit of an issue because the one thing about that Mustang, because of its obviously that big V8, and it really gets the torque down and the like, it tends to run a little bit heavier. And if Michael had played the game right and got Drew to use up tires just a little bit, this is huge for Drew.
It is, and I'm curious to see why Michael has the edge today. Maybe the G3 and Lacey group made some tweaks to the Mustang that haven't quite worked, or vice versa. Maybe Ray Sorensen has turned the right knob on that McLaren to find a little bit more life in it. You know, from Michael's perspective, he had visions of a win yesterday, and then ultimately dropped to the 3rd position on that podium with Spencer's late race charge and nipping him at the finish yesterday. So every point is going to be so important. It's going to be nip and tuck, just like we saw last year between Ian James, Michael Cooper, and Spencer Pumpelly, the leading 3 in the championship. Every position was critical.
It should be a fairly quick cleanup as well, so we ought to be able to get back to racing with a fair amount of time left on the clock. They've generally told the teams that you know, shortly after turn 11 is when the lights would go out on the safety car, but they do reserve the right that if that decision if it's doable and they're a little bit closer to the start, they can just go. And there it is, lights are out. So they've decided that they will be able to get Clennon's car removed. And really unfortunate for Mark Clennon, long-term supporter of this championship, raced a lot of different cars in this category. And really, when he gets that, they get that sin figured out, and he gets his head wrapped around it. It'll be fun to watch what he can do with it this year.
Yeah, it's an exciting change of combination there with Clennon and that sin. So I think there's good days ahead for that group. Maybe this little reset is helping Drew Stavely. Just got a message from Ryan down in the pits that he said after the race yesterday, Drew did relate to him that he was starting to lose the tires a bit towards the end of the run, so slightly warmer track conditions today may be affecting his car's ability and grip level. So maybe this is going to benefit him and allow him to put a restart charge on for the lead.
And that will be happening fairly shortly as the Acura NSX safety vehicle has eased away from the front of the field. Cooper, Stavely, Pumpelly, Andretti Grahovic, and then that AM field. And they basically told the teams here that pole driver, when you get to the apex of 11, or the last turn here, 20, you're free to go on these restarts. See when he decides to drop the hammer a little bit. I'm sure he'd like to negate that torque advantage that Stavely might have.
He got a little jump there. That was nicely judged.
Yes,
Michael just got it right in the sweet spot of the RPM and the torque setting on that McLaren to get the jump there and lead handily as they get up to the brake zone.
Look at
side
Dinan.
by side between Dinan and Terry there.
And watching for Gables to try some sort of a counter move. Can't get it done. That was really sketchy for Dinan because, and he gets that great run though and sweeps on through. Gables taking a look at Terry as well.
Look at Andretti, he's got around Pumpelly, putting the pressure on Drew Stavely in third position now. That bright orange Window World Endurance Warranty McLaren looking strong here in the restart.
I'll tell you, Paul Terry was and Stavely the back end swings around. Beautiful drift, hangs on to it. But Paul Terry was nice to Dinan because Dinan got down to the inside of Terry, and there's a rule on the restarts: you cannot pass till you get to the start-finish line, that control line. And Dinan was coming up along the inside and got a great run, and it's paid off for him. All Terry had to do was lift, let Dinan through, and then get on the radio and go, he jumped me.
Yeah, certainly some games can be played,
You
but
bet.
Michael Dinan certainly timed it very well,
Yes,
and
he
most
did.
importantly, controlled that braking up into turn one. Didn't run wide, gave each other a little bit of racing room, as you see Andretti there, jumping out of the draft to Drew Stavely, trying to do a similar move to what he tried. Car 18 is getting track limit warnings here, so he's got to be careful. He's got to be up on the wheel, but not abusing the track limits. He got a call yesterday. Didn't affect his finishing position in class. Still finished 4th, but that should have been a severe enough warning to say, don't do it again. He's right in the thick of some big points here today.
And he is, and all you have to do is keep one tire on the track side of that white line. Unless you get forced off. Now, we're getting that there's another full course yellow being called. And that's why Frank Gannett, what a shame. Last half of the season last year, we really started to see him up his game just a little bit. He's got Drew Stavely that coaches with him. He was racing some with Carl Whitmer. And those two guys really doing a nice job. You can see Frank is very upset with himself at this point.
He had a wonderful run here yesterday.
Yes,
Ran in the
did.
middle of the pack for most of the day.
So, caution back out. And they have staged one of the flatbeds here to be able to, tilt beds here to come out and speed up the removal of that car if it indeed needs one. Depends on how significant the damage is. The field gathered back up. You know, after that nice start by Marko Radisek, his lap time started to fall again, so I wonder if that diff issue just hasn't been able to be fully rectified here.
Yeah, he certainly had a moment there, didn't he? So
did.
something may have gone awry with the car, so tough start to his season's campaign.
Yep, our lone Serbian entrant. Now living in Sarasota, Florida. There he is right at the back of the field. Right over the rear tires in the back of that Precision Driving Tech BMW. Big red letters that says love, and that kind of tells you a little bit about Marco's perspective on life. Right in front of him is Jeff Courtney, and right in front of him is his teammate, Roberts, right there in those two cars. Here's Marco, and yes, he clearly has some sort of a problem for the Precision Driving Tech BMW. Looked like he had to do a reset once again, Cal.
Yeah, just shut everything down, and seems like he's back underway. Hopefully he's at full power now.
Yeah, see if we can catch back up and go after it again here on this restart. Meanwhile, I think Ryan Marine has found the gentleman who is handling things for Andretti Autosport. Bit of a legend in his own right, Robin Penderton.
I have indeed. Jared Andretti has been right in the thick of things throughout the course of this race. It's been fun for us, maybe heart-stopping for you. We got another restart coming. What can he do?
It's more opportunity. I mean, he's racing really hard. He's being as aggressive as he can be, you know, and we'll see what happens. We've got a decent car today. You know, we're getting better every week that we can be, and we'll see what happens.
We know he had the drive-through yesterday for track limits. It looks like he's been flirting with it again. That's part of being aggressive, though. What is the message to Jarrett to take the opportunities that present themselves without taking too many risks?
It's, you know, we had some conversations yesterday about it with race control, so we understand the rules a little bit better than we did. We're just got to take it to the limit, that's all. Don't go over.
Well, we know Jarrett will take it to the limit for sure. Thanks, Robin.
Yeah, that's what he does. I mean, does a lot of sprint car racing and midget racing and that kind of stuff. You're always on the limit, essentially, so it's comfortable territory for him.
Well, a lot of drivers believe if it's paved, you can use it. I think Jared Andretti takes it to a different level. It's like if there's any material to be used, whether it's dirt, sand, gravel, grass, he's going to try and use it to get his way around the race circuit.
That's a good point. He's done some rallycross stuff too, hasn't he? So, and I think the interesting thing is in his world, you know, in sprint midget racing, the track limit is defined by a wall.
Right.
So if there's not a wall, I should be able to play with it here.
Yeah.
And of course, it doesn't help that a relatively famous relative of his once said, if you don't want me to drive on it, don't pave it. So that's Mario Andretti himself. And it looks like that car of Gannett is fairly close to being removed. We got to do one more lap under caution here, but if everything goes right, what does it take under caution? About 4 minutes here to do a lap, so we should still have a good 8 minutes or so of racing to unfold here. It'll just be interesting to see what everybody has underneath them right now, and if Cooper, if that McLaren after these long laps under caution will have what it takes to, I was going to say it and I wasn't going to mean it, stave off Drew, but Drew might just have a cooled off weapon to be able to go after him. Andretti, Pumpelly, and Grahovic, and then this Dynan Terry Gaples battle, and with the way we've seen Jason Bell running with this caution and everybody's bunched up, this could be an absolute scrap in AM.
It could be, certainly in both classes, and I think it's really a question of how much do the drivers want to risk in terms of opening event of the championship season, putting all on the line for one position or a couple of points here or there, rather than just walking away with a nice podium run or a top 5. But everyone has a different mentality. I certainly believe that Jared Andretti's going to be up on the wheel trying to make some moves, maybe on Stavely. Cooper would love to rebound from a podium run yesterday to a win today, so he's going to do everything in his armor to try and do that. He judged the restart brilliantly before in terms of just getting that McLaren right in the sweet spot. And it didn't seem like Stavely had anything for him, so maybe the Mustang's a little bit out of its sweet spot when Michael hits it. And you all learn from that previous run and adjust accordingly.
Cooper has got a little bit of a lead here under the caution here. Looks like he's backing off a little bit, trying to get a run. Anything you can do to make sure those tires not so much warmed up, but clean, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they don't want you to play too many games. They want you to stay within a handful of car lengths to the safety car. But now and again, you just want to sit back there and get a run through a corner, get a good clean run through there and try and clean up the tires a little bit and just get a feel for the race car as well.
All right, and there is the G3 Ian Lacey Racing Mustang of Gannett up onto the tilt bed.
They've really got the safety car going as slow as they possibly can to see if they can maybe get that flatbed into a safe haven and potentially go back to green at the start of this lap.
Well, they've got that car up and everybody's moving. Let's check in quickly with Ryan down in pit lane.
Chris Barber is the team manager at Flying Lizard Motorsports. You've got the AM class leader, Michael Dynan. He won yesterday, late race heroics to get it done. If we go back to green, and it looks like we will, what is your message to him? It looks like we're getting close to the restart.
You know, just to stay calm out there, do what he did yesterday. Obviously, he did a great job managing the tires and managing his pace. So, I mean, I think he can get it done again today, and so that's what our message would be, just to stay calm.
We'll let you get to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And that's a good point for a driver who's relatively new to the sport, as Michael is, who's obviously got some skills for sure. A lot of times it's just don't get overamped here. You know, just stay within yourself. You know you can do it. Just stay focused and go after it. And we're going to find out if you can here, because lights are out on the Acura NSX safety vehicle, and Michael Cooper leading this field around to pick up the green with should be
4
just
laps to go.
Yeah, right about
plenty of
that
time still
frame.
on the clock.
I think we are going to see some serious battles here. See if Cooper, Stavely backing off a little bit, rolling into the throttle, and see Cooper still getting a little bit of a jump.
He went a little bit earlier this time before the apex of 20, before he lagged back and then just got the engine into the sweet spot, so that may have caught out Drew Stavely a little bit with a different approach to this restart.
Well, the last thing you want to be when somebody's attacking you is consistent.
Right.
Ooh, Quinlan way down to the inside, and looked like
a touch up there, I'm not sure. Yeah, I think Quinlan did get involved or delayed at least.
Too, yeah. All right, so Cooper, a couple car lengths of breathing room. Stavely right there. The guy who has dropped off just a smidge might be Pumpelly, but he comes right back in as you get into this.
Well, this is right in Andretti's wheelhouse. He's used to running 10-minute dirt track races in the past, and now he's all over that apex curving. They're just trying to get the run, trying to see if he can get close enough to that Mustang to maybe pop out and make a move down into the brake zone. This is turn 11. Cooper has a nice little bit of breathing room, can just focus on his line, almost into the back of the Mustang. Look at Pompelli, he's looking to take advantage of this situation. Time is running out for these drivers.
I think he got the Mustang. I think he gave him a little chrome horn there. And then back behind Grahovic. Watch this now, see if there's a little bump. Quinlan and Burton, yep.
Very awkward moment for Burton.
You can see him go.
Ooh, look at this, big move there, and Drew was hard on the brakes, all crossed up there. That was beautiful driving to avoid contact. Thought Pompelli may be able to take advantage of it, but he had nowhere to go, no real estate left.
I think Drew might be a little annoyed, possibly, but the guy that this has really helped is Cooper. Yeah, there's a little wrinkle in the nose of that McLaren here.
That was definitely as close as they could get to avoid contact. That was just great driving. Talk about being up on the wheel. Drew Stavely, awesome job by not getting into the McLaren there into the brake zone. This has allowed Cooper to just scarper off here.
Definitely has. Stavely gets a big run. Now cuts back as the McLaren drifted over to dissuade him. He's going to pick the throttle up.
He's going to get to the inside here.
McLaren gets out of corners decently.
He did, because Jared was not on the ideal line by just compromising the turn in a little bit, so I thought he was going to be a bit slower off the corner than he in fact was. So not sure if Drew maybe just lit up the tires a little bit coming off the corner. He's got to be loving what he's seeing in the rearview mirrors there with those guys fighting it out. He has just established a huge gap here, up over 2 seconds here in one lap after the restart.
There's nothing between these guys for most of the... Oh, wow, what a save by Stavely.
Yeah, it really was. I think he had one side up on the curb there, and it just kind of got the car squirrely. And just amazing driving there just to stay out of the McLaren. Don't think Andretti did anything wrong. He had enough room there to break in a straight line, but the car just got squirrely on Drew Stavely, and that's what he had to catch.
Yep. This is going to be an interesting dynamic here, because at this stage, with Andretti out in front of them, if Andretti starts using up that like that and gaining advantages, Stavely and Pompelli have no option but to do it too if they want to stay with them. And then behind them, Dynan hanging on over Terry and over Gaples. That top three just seems to have enough in hand now over Burton and Bell. You know, that's true. Burton's able to sneak through. Now, this is what I was talking about. Watch this. Right? Watch that. Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely got into him. Yeah. Just loosened him up a little bit. I mean, it wasn't intentional. It was just hard braking, want to be as close as he could. But nonetheless, that will certainly got Drew Stavely's attention. We'll see what sort of the emotion is underneath the helmet of the number 12 driver right now.
He's always a hard-nosed racer. Clean but hard-nosed, as we saw with that run with Cooper. But that'll give you a little extra motivation on occasion. And Burton, even with that little bit of contact that he was the one who got knocked sideways, and yet has been able to run down and get around Bell, so that was impressive.
A lot of chopping and changing here in these last couple of laps in the AMP leaders. Cooper continues to run away. He's got this one under control right now. Can grab his first win of the year. Here's Diamond. There's the gap in AMP class. Back to Terry. Looks comfortable. Just hit his marks at this point forward. 2 laps to go.
And Gable sits right there in third. And there's Burton. Yeah, it's been a great rebound after that bump. He sneaks around Bell. Picks up that 4th spot.
It's going to be a fascinating battle for the AM Championship this year between these two Aston Martins, and Tony Gables looking for his 2nd podium of the weekend to start his campaign. Stavely's car there starting to struggle a little bit. He's inching away. Can Pompelli do anything in these last couple of laps here and get back up on that podium?
Everybody using every inch of road right now. And Grahovic sitting still 5th. He just has not quite had the ability to stick with this group of 4 up front. Oh, Spencer getting a great run. There's Toby. Right at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, Spencer is really trying to think this one through. Where can he make his move? Tucked right under that rear wing of the Mustang. Feints to the inside, deep on the brakes. Andretti clears. Pumpelly through, keeps it together. Nice move by Spencer. He's got a lap and a bit left to try and make a move on Andretti. This is go time for Spencer Pumpelly. It was the last couple of laps yesterday that he started to cut some moves, tucks to the inside.
There he is.
Nice.
Oh, and Stanley going to get a run because Spencer got parked when Andretti came off the line and right back in front of him.
Wow. That hurt. That hurt Spencer big time because he had the move done and was thinking of more. Suddenly that little bobble there, and Andretti was on his way by opening up his hands out of turn 15. Meanwhile, Cooper up front, under control.
3-time World Challenge champion Michael Cooper starts the last lap in the Black Dog McLaren. And here is that scrap. Who will be able to do what here on this last lap? This is when it's got to happen. Dynan's got plenty of room now to Terry. Terry's got a bit of a lead to Gaples. Gaples has room to Burton. This part of the track, that Andretti Autosport McLaren flows really nice.
It really does. He's really got the magic through the S's here. He's been super fast here throughout the course of this race. Looking back there with that black Aston Martin, that is Dynan. Still have about a 6 to 8 car length lead over Paul Terry. I think both of those camps will be really happy with the results here this weekend on debut with the Aston Martin.
Oh, I think so. No question about it. All right, here we go. Last time through 11, such a crucial corner. If you overrun the entry, it's going to cost you big time. Everybody looks pretty good here. Pumpelly tucked right underneath the wing of that Mustang, looking for any kind of a tow he can get.
Not quite as close, though, as the previous lap. It may make it a struggle for him to make a similar move.
It's going to be tough to get there from there.
Well, let's see if he can do it. In those real serpentine bits, he's able to even maybe go after the McLaren. He can't do it, Cal. You were spot on.
Yeah, he could read it. You can just sense when you're a driver if you're in the sweet spot or not, and he realized it was going to be too much of a lunge there to go down to the inside. There would have been contact if he tried it, because it seems like Drew's car is still pretty strong in the brake zone. Try and cut under him there. That is nice. Can he keep it together? Yes, he does. Beautiful move there by Spencer Pumpelly. Is there enough time for Drew Stavely to respond with just 3 corners to go?
It's going to be fascinating to watch. McLaren 1-2 right now as they head into the final few corners. There goes Cooper. Stavely, this is his last opportunity. This is through turn 19. He's using every bit of the road. Meanwhile, Michael Cooper, Black Dog Speed Shop, and McLaren, after a 3rd place yesterday, a win for the 3-time champion. Here comes Andretti, and at the line, it's a drag race. Stavely, wow, just nips Pumpelly for 3rd.
71 thousandths of a second.
Unbelievable. And Stavely did everything he possibly could, and it was enough to stay on the podium. Pumpelly and Grohovic complete the top 5 and top 5 in pro. Dynan getting his 2nd straight win. But Gaples, wait, that might be that sketchy transponder for Terry. I think Terry did, in fact, get 2nd. We'll wait to make that call.
There's Jim Bell and the Flying Lizard Motorsport Group. Great weekend for them, sweeping the event. There's Darren Law. Pretty pumped. They didn't have a great day, the K-Pax Group, with the Bentley this weekend, but certainly in GT4 competition, it was a good one.
Boy, wasn't it? What an entertaining race. And that's, you know, that's the upside. You don't like to have cautions, but every once in a while, you get that upside to a caution where it packs things up, changes the dynamic a little bit, and allows you to have a really fun finish, and that's what we had, to be sure. So just great stuff. Great stuff indeed. For Dynan, again, he has not been racing very long. last year was his first season at all of any kind of pro racing in the AM category. And they say once you get that first one, the second one comes easier, and he's got 2 in the same weekend.
Big weekend, a lot of momentum heading into the next rounds of the championship. He'll see Sprint X competition next weekend at St. Petersburg with his teammate Robbie Foley.
And with Cooper, Andretti, Stavely, your top 3 in pro. And Dine and Terry, yep, I didn't want to get caught out twice with that. Terry did indeed finish in that second spot. He just had that sketchy transponder on the cart. So nice job there. With Tony Gaples once again bringing him home with that podium. So well done there. And you know, you think about big picture for the entire championship. The way that this one finished, after Stavely had that big win, he ends up 3rd. Cooper had a 3rd, he wins. Andretti had that issue and then pops right back up into it. And Pompelli a 2nd and a 4th. This championship is on already.
Yeah, it's really tight. I think Andretti and Pompelli should be tied in points, as should be Cooper and Stavely. So good stuff.
And into pit lane comes your winner, Michael Cooper, in the Black Dog Performance Light Helmets, McLaren. And there is our Ryan Marine. So as soon as Michael gets that helmet off, we'll hear from the 3-time champion and race winner. And he was close to a championship last year too, and it just didn't quite work for him. But that last race of the season last year, he just dominated it.
Yeah,
so
really
you knew he was looking forward to this year.
Jared Andretti is going to be psyched. That was a really nice run for him. Yeah.
Yes, it was. Class move there, Ray Sorensen giving him a big high five. There's the guy they call Coop. So he's going to peel that helmet off here. You talked about it. Next round of the championship, a street race at St. Pete next weekend. So, all right, let's go down to Ryan Marine.
Michael Cooper in victory lane at Circuit of the Americas. Michael, all weekend long, the Mustang had seemed to be the class of the field. So what were you able to do with the Black Dog guys to bring this McLaren into the fight?
Yeah, I mean, these Black Dog guys have worked super hard all winter to bring this McLaren some speed. You know, we found some late last year. We wanted to keep building on that all winter. In between McLaren and Black Dog Speed Shop, they've done a lot of work together to get this thing up to snuff. I still think we're a little bit behind some of these other GT4 cars, and we're going to St. Pete next week, where the Mustang and the Porsche dominated last year, so we got to keep that in mind. But we'll take this race win right now and go celebrate tonight.
You closed last season with such momentum, a little bit of a slow start, and came even still very close to a championship. So how important is it to bank some of these points here early on, knowing that this car should be strong in the second half of the calendar?
Yeah, I think my quote at the beginning of the race week read, race wins don't matter to me, points do. And we got 25 points today, and I'm pretty sure we got the points lead going into St. Pete.
I think it's at least a tie.
Yeah, okay, at least a tie. Well, Jared finished second. He didn't finish second yesterday. I guess I finished third. I'm not that...
And Drew was third as well, so I don't know. We'll work it out after the race.
We're up there. We're in the mix. We don't have 10 points leaving the first race like we did last year, so I'm looking forward to this.
Congratulations.
Thanks, Brian.
Yeah, and if he gets, even if that car is not quite as good as it could be at a street race, if he gets the kind of start like he did at Long Beach last year in that sprint race,
right,
that's what put him into championship contention late in the year when the car wasn't great. It was him and some brilliant opening laps.
Yeah, he took advantage of the car being really strong and he being really strong on cold tires to make some moves and grab some points early, and that kept him in the championship mix towards the end of the season. There you see Drew Stavely saying nothing I could do. He'll be disappointed after a win yesterday, but he's got to feel that, you know, to grab that podium on the last corner was a great move.
Absolutely, and I think you're absolutely right on he did what he had to do there. So let's get back down to Ryan with our winner in AM for the second straight day.
Well, we believe that Michael Dinan is the winner. Evidently, there's been some confusion given the transponder issues that we've talked about. But as it stands, Michael, we think you got it done, and it didn't take any last-minute dramas here today. Pretty comprehensive. How about that final restart, though, knowing you had the lead and you had to hold on?
Yeah, the final restart was definitely the moment I knew it was going to come down to at the end. Robbie just said, make sure you get a good run. I was behind the BMW, which is obviously super strong in the straights, so wasn't going to get held up there. And Terry made a good run on the restart. And after that, I kind of pulled a nice lead. Unfortunately, I made a few mistakes on the final lap, got a little bit in my head, and he caught back up, and then it was photo finish. So we'll see who won. Hopefully I come away with it. But yeah, either way, great race. Really happy with the result.
And regardless, an excellent weekend. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Yeah, an amazing weekend. Best way we could start off the season, and best way to have our first race weekend with the new Aston Martin. So super happy everyone at the team did an amazing job. Yeah, looking forward to the rest of the season.
Well, you got to appreciate that forthrightness and honesty from him, saying I got a little bit in my head, and it allowed Terry alongside. Obviously, we talk about that transponder issue with Terry. It didn't give us the display right at the end. Then he was back inserted into the graphics that it did show Dynan winning, but apparently that's still being looked at here at this stage. So, but meanwhile, let's go back, take a look at some highlights from this race. And from pole, once again, Stavely into the lead. Cooper, nice move there, but it was Andretti doing the thing he needed to do on the start, jumping up from 6th to 4th.
Yeah, he's immediately in the mix. There you see really tight quarter racing between the AM division. Jason Bill, another strong day. And ultimately, here we see Michael Cooper grabbing that lead and hanging on to it. It was a great battle between he and Stavely. They tweaked on the McLaren overnight and made it a little bit stronger.
And then they had some cautions, and when it got back to racing, you were talking about close quarters racing. Well, it became really close quarters racing, and lots of interesting moments. Huge save right there by Stavely. Didn't really mean to do a pass, but he got out of the brakes, it locked up. And then this move here is Andretti ducked underneath Pumpelly, then Pumpelly comes back at him, but right there, that blunted Pumpelly. There goes Stavely around the outside, but in the end, Cooper comes through and picks up the win. And in the background, watch for it. There it is. And it looked like Terry may well have slipped by in front of Dynan. Great racing here in Pirelli GT4 America action in the sprint division at Circuit of the Americas. All right, now let's take a look at the results, and they have been updated. Indeed, it shows Paul Terry getting the win over Michael Dynan with Gaples third. So as Dynan said, I got a little in my head on that last lap, and Terry was able to do something with it. And so the Aston Martin boys just swapping it out. Dynan winning yesterday, Terry today.
It was close both days.
Yeah, you talked about it being a good battle in that category with Gaples in the mix as well. Looking forward to a fun championship, and in the pro division, it should be as good or better than it was last year, I think. That's going to be fun.
Certainly a great start to the championship season. Some awesome racing, just really classy stuff out there this afternoon, particularly between Stavely, Pumpelly, Andretti. He'll be chuffed with that second place finish here, really making a statement. He's going to be a contender for this championship this year.
Absolutely, and for him, you got to wonder about that penalty yesterday. If he wouldn't have had that drive-through, didn't cost him the points in terms of class, did it? I mean, he was where he was racing at that point, so it really didn't hurt him too much. But I'll tell you what, we're in for a good season here in Pirelli GT4 America's sprint competition. And the next round of this championship goes to the streets of St. Petersburg. Only a week to turn these cars around, get to St. Pete, Florida on the Sun Coast on an absolutely spectacular street circuit there. Challenging, flowing, beautiful.
Not the runoff room there that we saw this weekend, yeah. That's for sure. So totally different dynamic, totally different discipline, and we expect some great racing as well.
Yeah, track limits clearly defined there, so it should be a lot of fun. Always a great weekend, and looking forward to the rest of the season as it unfolds in this category as well. When you think about the next rounds, it'll be in May at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park for the Sprint Championship, and then VIR in June, Sonoma, Road America, Watkins Glen, and the finale at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So that is a list of some pretty spectacular names. Tony Gaples, another great run. He started 8th in this class and worked his way up into 3rd. Absolutely phenomenal run. And Dynan, I'm sure he's a little frustrated right at the end, but look at that big smile still, a win in a second. That's pretty special indeed. Let's listen in to the podium.
Champagne coming out now. You can let those trophies down and shake it up. Celebrate a job well done. Tony Gables finishing third. Michael Dinan, your class runner-up. Paul Terry picks up a long-awaited win. GT4 America AM category. We move next to our pro class podium.
So the podium for the AM category complete, and what a fascinating race it was, with all kinds of things, including an errant transponder on one of the cars that kept us guessing right to the finish. That's for sure. All right, here we go, the pro podium. Drew Stavely, after the win from pole yesterday, pole today, but an interesting finish, some great racing that he put on. And then Jared Andretti coming up and taking that second spot. Well done for him from Andretti Autosport. And then with the win, we've talked about it a lot, a three-time champion in World Challenge competition, Michael Cooper, coming up and taking that win in the Black Dog McLaren.
Congratulations. Well done. What a show they put on today.
Yeah, some fabulous racing, and right off the bat, here comes the champagne. The party begins, especially if you don't have to drive or fly out tonight. You can enjoy it here. And I'll tell you, impressive run. Yesterday we had 3 different manufacturers on the podium. Today, 2 McLarens and a Ford. That was some good stuff.
Thank you so much for joining us out at the racetrack. Hope to see you at a future SRO Americas event.
And with that, the celebrations wrap up here at Circuit of the Americas, the opening round of the full gamut of GT World Challenge America powered by AWS Championship Series has drawn to a close. Today is, of course, the Pirelli GT4 America Sprint Championship. For them, they will be the next round of racing for the GT World Challenge America powered by AWS Series. The Pirelli GT4 America Sprint cars running at St. Pete. The next event after that, another street course, but that will be Pirelli GT4 America Sprint X on the streets of Long Beach. So lots of great racing coming. We hope you join us for our coverage here on our live stream all season long. It's been great to have you with us. For Cal Fish and Ryan Marine, I'm Greg Creamer. Take care, everybody. Travel safe home.